Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the program. I'm sitting here today with Mr. Jared Miller. Jared, thank you for being part of the program.
Absolutely. My honor.
Yes, sir. For those who are not familiar with the amazing work you're doing, let them know about yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So my name's Jared Miller. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. So I am a worship pastor. I'm an author, speaker, and coach. And I love nothing more than to help many people get to the next level of their life, both spiritually and professionally. And I love blessing other people. I love pouring into their lives and seeing transformation. It's a passion of mine.
I follow a lot of your content on social media, and you're the type of guy that you wear your faith on your sleeve. I mean, you put it at the forefront. It is obviously the anchor of everything that you do. Oftentimes, people feel as though they have to almost hide their faith to find success. How do we balance having success and still having our faith be our anchor?
What a great question. I'm gonna put it to you this way. I believe people are not looking for a perfect leader; they're looking for an authentic leader.
Mm.
I remember a story that I heard about Benjamin Franklin and a close friend of his. They were going to hear an evangelist preach, and Benjamin Franklin's friend said, "I didn't think that you believe what he's saying is true." And Benjamin Franklin said, "I don't, but he does." And it's just amazing how, as a person of faith and balancing that with success, how that even if people don't agree and see eye to eye with you, people can recognize authenticity, people can recognize passion, people can recognize the real deal.
Hmm.
People can recognize if you're skillful and if you're competent at what you do.
Yeah. Right now, you are getting ready to release your book. Together with that book, you've released a soundtrack which is titled Truth. Talk a bit about the journey to making the soundtrack. Let's start there. Making that soundtrack a reality, which I've heard, and it's just a powerful song. I actually shared it with my wife, and while I was playing it, she was listening to it. Our 2-year-old daughter was in the background just dancing. So it was quite a moment.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. So if you give me just a couple of minutes just to kind of give you the backstory.
Mhm.
Um, as a person of faith, I believe that we have to be transparent and vulnerable with our listeners. And so the last 2 years, uh, not even mentioning COVID, but through all of that, I went through a divorce. And as a creative, as a songwriter, I've been singing, most of my life. I've been in church most of my life. I love that so much. I had not written or created an original song in 3 years. Going through some hard times. Everyone kind of goes through their own storms and seasons of life, but my creative juices, quote unquote, felt sucked dry. And so, all that to say, I had a pastor friend of mine in South Houston who I've known for probably 13 years. He said, "Jared, it's time that we did a collaboration together." His name is Vaughn Wan, and he pastors Space City Church in Houston. And I want to do it. And you know how whenever you're wanting to collaborate with someone and they're just not latching on, you're wondering, does this guy really want to do this? Does he really want to do it,
Yeah.
or is he
Oh,
just
talk.
right? And so it's like, Bonnie, it's not that. It's just I got nothing. And even as real as I'm sitting before you today, on my couch over to my right, it was 10:30 on a Wednesday night back in February of this year. And I remember saying, Lord, I want to do this, but I've got nothing. Can you help me? And sir, when I tell you, as truthful as I can be, it was like a download from heaven happened. It was the coolest, craziest thing. Within 10 minutes, I had the lyrics, the melody line, the chord structure, the whole thing. Um, and so where Vaughn kicks in, Vaughn actually raps on the verses, as you heard.
Yeah.
But as far as like the chord structure, the melody line, and the bridge and the chorus, that all came to me, I believe, from the Lord within 10 minutes. I had a Here's what's so cool, and I don't mean to name drop, but man, like our producer, I got connected to him through Vaughn. He's a Christian also. He's worked with Frankie J, he's worked with Lil Wayne, he's worked with Maroon 5.
Mhm.
And I had no idea who he was. And so he took the song and brought it to life. All that to say, the song is called Truth. and it's in direct collaboration with my upcoming book. So it's not just a book, but it's a song and a book.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was you've been promoting it, and as I mentioned, I follow you on social media, which everyone should. With that being said, I thought it was an interesting take because oftentimes it's like we have a book and a workbook, or a book and so maybe a conference, but a book and a song. I was like, that's different.
Yeah. It's interesting because my publisher, we were talking just a few months ago, and he said, Jared, you're a songwriter. Why don't you write a song called Truth? The thing about it is, I told you that Bond, my pastor friend, had been on me about a collaboration, but I thought it was going to take a different direction. I never thought that we would collaborate on this song, Truth. So God has a way of just bringing it all together for His glory, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing because, and I don't want to pass this moment where, you're going through that specific difficult life altering event, and you're feeling, as you mentioned, you're feeling like your creative juices are sucked dry, and yet there's still that push of, no, you still have to create, you still have to do, you still have to move. For that person that's listening right now and is feeling stuck, or maybe going through that life altering event, but is still hearing the call of produce, create, expand, what word of encouragement can we provide them? What strategy can you provide them at this moment?
Absolutely. It's a fantastic question. You have to surround yourself with people who will inspire you and will bridge the gap. I remember there's a story in the book of Exodus where Moses got tired and the people around him had to lift his hands up. Mm-hmm. And as long as he couldn't hold his hands up by himself, right? They had to hold his hands up for him. And we need people on the right and the left who will hold our hands up for us. And as long as he did, the Israelites won the victory. Mm-hmm. But when he didn't, they didn't. And so we have to have, number one, people around us who we trust, who have our best interests in mind, who see the call of God on our life, who see our passion and our focus, and will lift our hands up when we feel like we can't lift up our own hands. Number two, I believe that you have to keep the original vision that God gave you in front of you, because there's a lot of things that are throwing in your peripherals and in front of your eyes, and you got to say, no, I'm going to take all the haze and fog away, and I got to have a clear picture of in front of me of what God originally called me to do. Now, in order to see things right, you got to set things right. The scripture in Hebrews 12 says, for the joy that was set before him enabled him to endure the cross. So Miguel, here's the cool thing, right? Can we ever, we hear the stories in the Bible of Jesus being beat, and the crown of thorns and the scourging, and we hear about it. But could you imagine actually being there? Could you imagine actually experiencing, like, your closest loved one going through 39 stripes on their back with the cat of nine tails, and just how horrific and traumatic and just humiliating that must have been? The only thing that allowed Jesus to get through those moments was seeing you and I 2,000 plus years in the future, knowing what I'm going through now is going to make a difference in eternity.
Yeah. Yes, I agree totally. Oftentimes I've said we need to surround ourselves with people that would nourish our vision. And of course, as you mentioned, the only way to strive towards a vision is to keep that vision in the forefront, keep that in our peripheral. We talk about the journey to making the song, which again, it's such a powerful song, but you also have coupled this with a book. Talk a bit about the book and that journey.
Yeah, I really feel like this is going to encourage someone today. When I tell you, you can have good ideas and then you can have God ideas, there was a God idea that dropped inside of me, I would say between 3.5 and 4 years ago. Miguel, I didn't even act on it until October of last year. I said to myself, one day I'll get to that. Life, it was excuses and a lack of discipline, if I'm just going to call it for what it is, right? And so the whole concept was the voices you trust determine the direction of your life. What do I mean by that? We have influential voices all around us. Something super practical. If I need to take my car to the shop to get fixed, and I have 3 people that I know and say, hey, who should I take my car to? Who have you taken your car to? The person that I trust the most is probably the one that I'm going to go with. Real practical example. Apply that to every area of life. We have relational influences all around us at all times that we trust, right? And the influence that we trust ultimately shapes our perception of truth. And so that was the whole concept of social media, the media, fake news, legitimate news. Who do we trust? Who do we listen to? How do we know who to listen to? It was such a hot topic. And as we're doing the book, as we're writing the book, as we're developing and editing the book, my publisher says, Jared, the spirit and concept that you originally came up with is in the book, but this is really turning out to be about truth. What is truth? And so my premise was that is the greatest question one will ever ask, because everything else in your life is contingent upon that answer.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. Oftentimes people talk about, the statement of share your truth. And, I believe that there's either the truth or there is no truth, or, it's a lie. However, the idea is that if we begin to visualize and or take in information, that's going to alter what we perceive to be the truth. And there goes your truth. It's not the truth, but it's a perception that we have created, and battling that. Now, you mentioned that this idea comes to you, but yet you delay in moving forward. And I'm guilty of that. And I know our listeners are also. But you were very frank in saying, okay, there's a lack of discipline, there's a lack of movement, there's a lack of taking on the task and moving that forward. For that individual that right now is like, man, I've got a multi-million-dollar idea in me. I've got this God idea in me. I've got this book in me. How do they get over the hump? What strategy could we provide for them to get over the hump and actually put it in execution? Because your book is coming out. The song is out. How do we execute?
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. So let me say this. The hardest step is the first step. We got to get out of our head. We got to stop overthinking. It's like Ernest Hemingway. Your first page is going to stink. Well, he didn't use those words, but you know what I mean. So for me, it was just like, it was a combination of fear. It was a combination of I was making it all about me versus making about others. When I got off my own agenda and got over myself, which is a transparent thing to say, but I think we all struggle with certain levels of ego and certain levels of image and wanting things to come across a certain way. And my publisher and I were talking and just having some really candid moments. It's like, if the Lord really gave you this idea and you're just the conduit, you're just the messenger of what the Lord's wanting you to say, it's never been about Jared to begin with. It's about the people who God is going to use the book to speak to and help transform their lives, because it's the Lord who ultimately transforms. It's not us. So let me say this. I have to interject this. This is so good that I didn't forget to tell you this. When I first started, I had a friend who, we were just acquaintances on Facebook, and he mentioned that part of his business was ghostwriting. So I'm thinking, man, this is a 3.5, 4-year idea. It's time to get moving. I asked him to help me ghostwrite, to basically finish the manuscript. Well, he says, Jared, this is so good. I don't really need to ghostwrite it. I just need to edit it. I said, okay. So he edited it. I think, man, this is amazing. We're ready to rock and roll. Then I find someone and I pay someone else to design the book cover. I pay for the book cover. I pay for the manuscript. I'm thinking we're done. Then my life coach introduced me to another publisher who gets a hold of the book, and he goes to town, Miguel, and does surgery on that joker. Now I'm paying so much more money for this publisher to guide me and really take this manuscript apart. What's my point? Is I could have got frustrated. I could have said, I'm wasting my money. I'm wasting my time. No, but so much is about perspective. I paid money for the first edit. I paid money for the book cover design. I didn't even use any of that.
Wow.
So I could have said, well, what am I doing? No. You're asking me the question, what do I say to the person who's stuck? Every step leads to the next. Every door leads to the next door, to the next door. Every relationship leads to the next relationship, the next relationship. God takes us from glory to glory, strength to strength, right? So don't get destination disease. Direction is more important than destination, and progress is more important than perfection. And so, as simple and as well, I already knew that. As simple as this sounds, start. If you need a friend to get some jumper cables and jumpstart your vision, do it. But just start. And then the key is consistency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have such a compelling vision. The concept has to really burn within you. This is not a good idea, but it's a God idea, and it's bigger than me, and I have to give birth to it. And as long as, like we talked about at the very beginning, keeping the vision in the forefront of your mind, and then surrounding yourself with people who can help you. And if your goal is to make this as good as it can be, don't be flustered by the bump in the road. Don't be discouraged or downtrodden by thinking, oh, well, I paid this money for this edit, I'm not even going to use it. No. That led me to where I am right now.
Yeah. Destination disease. That's a good one. But it's so true. Oftentimes we want it so much that we almost get in our own way of making it a reality. For those who are listening and want to get their hands on your upcoming book, want to listen to the music, or just connect with you, how could they do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what's so cool, Miguel. When you pre-order my book, you're going to get my brand new song, Truth, automatically free. It's going to be emailed to you. You're going to get it today. Then when you pre-order, you're also going to get the acoustic version of the same song, Truth. And here's the link: truth.jaredmillerofficial.com. Truth.jaredmillerofficial.com. Miguel, this concept is so much bigger than me. The concept of truth. People are on information overload, but they're starving for truth.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea of the book is a completely different approach to how to identify and understand truth. It's not me saying this is the truth and shoving it down your throat. It's a guidebook to help the reader find truth for themselves. I lead them to where I want them to be and where I believe that they should be, but it's not me. Again, it's not me telling them, it's me showing them. And so I encourage every listener, help us spread this message. Go and get the book today. You're going to get the music automatically free immediately. Truth.jaredmillerofficial.com. And of course, I'm on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Jared Miller Official.
Jared, thank you so much for being part of the program and inspiring and motivating words. Thank you so much.
Miguel, it's my honor, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.